I'm gonna say it. When I hear a player say, I really enjoy the broadcast, I'm really enjoying the interviews, I just melt. I just melt. This is worth it. This is worth it. I don't care. Dusty versus Riddle. It's going to be a good one. And often we talk a lot about Riddle. We've been talking about them the entire split, but it's time to focus on Dusty. And the dark horse, I would say, they could be at the top of the split. I'm convinced, by the way. You convinced me, Eragon. And we need to talk about the way they play, because it's not a one-show horse or a one-trick pony, as we would say in League of Legends. They can adapt.
I definitely think right now, though, it is a topside show. It is Linkus leading the charge with all his shot calling early. It is Kerberos supporting him, and it is his mid laner supporting him. Playing through topside, Kerberos sometimes get these counter picks like the Darius, the Camille. I definitely think what stands out to me the most, though, is the quality of the team fighting skirmishing. I said this on the last broadcast. Every single time I think they're losing, they win the fight. It is so G2 2019-esque. I'm just so impressed consistently.
And so far, they've been using that sort of compositional playstyle to get those massive team fights. It's really hard to pilot something versus Dusty. On this side, you see the top line. Kerberos is split pushing and nobody can deal with them. And this is something that we see from Riddle itself, but they can use it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is Riddle's core identity, right? It is Jaxplank and it is the scaling. The one Jaxplank
This is Dusty.
to really be the side lane menace. But for Dusty, earlier in the split, they kind of actually played that same playstyle too. We see it here, right? Kerberos being unstoppable in the side lane, kind of the way we've seen Jaxplank be throughout this whole split. And Dusty have gone more towards the teamfight style that we're about to see right now, where, you know, going for the teamfights around these neutral objectives, and they're getting the wombo combos, the moonfall into last breath. We all know how dangerous it could be, and we saw it here. How beautiful does that not look? And Dusty, having managed to play both these styles very well, look to be a very, very strong team.
It's not only that, but also individual players. When you have people that can shine as individual players, and a team that can shine in the middle of a team fight, this is probably one of the most dangerous combinations we can have in a league team, no?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Every single player just pops off in every single skirmish. I remember watching a VOD preparing for this segment. I remember seeing Stend casting a Renata ult at max range to cancel an Ornn second cast on his ulti, and the timing was perfect. It was unbelievable because that's so far away, and the timing is really hard to get down to do that. No, they're all phenomenal players.
It is a dangerous team, but on the other side, another dangerous team, it is Riddle. We have the Jaxplank show, even though the rest of the team is shining as well. Stefan is an amazing jungler. All of them are amazing, but they're relying on almost a single way of play, no?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit more one-dimensional, where Dusty have managed to play multiple styles of play. Riddle have relied a lot of Jaxplank being the silent menace. We see it here in this game. They end up beating Astralis thanks to Jaxplank soaking up so much pressure, taking 2 men away from the team fight that could have potentially happened had everyone been down at that Elder Dragon. He survives this, he keeps pushing, they end up winning the game after they realize we don't actually need the Herald, and that's because they funneled so many resources into Jaxplank, and his scaling has come online, and then he is just unstoppable in the side end if he gets to that point.
I definitely do think, though, that this is their kind of one-trick pony and their bread and butter. I feel like if you get Jaxplank down, like in the past few games, Riddle are much slower, and they could potentially even lose. I feel like this is their kryptonite. If Jaxplank is losing, Riddle lose.
That is an interesting topic. I might as well remind you guys that if Riddle are used to fight 4v5, this also brings up the question, are Riddle, the 4-man squad, that good as well? And maybe Jaxplank can adapt somehow and play for the team? Is this a possibility?
I think Riddle have lost a little bit in that steam in the sense because they're having to trying to reinvent themselves, because people have started to know how to play against Jaxplank. We saw it, for example, with the JDXL game where they drafted the Trinity and they just dove Jaxplank over and over again, not allowing him to scale into the game and become that side lane menace. So for me, Riddle, they have some growing pains now because the Jaxplank strategy, it has worked well. We know it can work, but you need more styles, because if you can only play through Jaxplank and then rely on his scaling and facilitating the team in the late game by split pushing, then you're a bit of a one-dimensional team, and that's where Dusty really thrive, being able to play both styles.
Either you adapt, or maybe you don't get that second seed or even the first one. But without further ado, chat, start the game, guys. It is the chat that needs to start. I'll do it. There you go. Jump into the champion select for the first game of the day. Match day 16, Dusty versus Riddle. Look at them, tied up 11-4. Everything goes right now. As we look into the bans, are we going to see the same old ones, or is it going to be the Jax, the GP, and then we get an overloaded draft?
There is absolutely no way in hell that Riddle give over the Yasuo again. I absolutely refuse to believe that this happens. Seraphine classic ban, but there is no way that you give Dusty the easy engage and insane skirmishing power of, for example, Diana Yasuo or Gragas Yasuo. You just ban the Yasuo every time.
Yeah, and I also want to highlight, as we mentioned in the news, we are still on 12.12b, so that means Volibear is still on the table. Stefan, I really liked him on it, in particular being able to facilitate for Jaxplank and, you know, being able to dive and help Jaxplank really get ahead early and play to their win condition. So that's something I would like them to see, but it does get banned, very smartly done by Dusty. You highlighted the Yasuo, that has been taken by the side of Riddle, so that won't be played either way. You also mentioned that Stend was very good on the Renata Classic, and that has now been removed by Dusty.
So something else that's happening right now is scaling being taken away for both teams in these Renata, the Yuumi, the Seraphine. They're so unbelievably hard to deal with as the game goes on, and both of these teams like to play through top with weak side bot lanes. That's why they're both banning out these scaling champions.
Instantly, we get the team fight key, we get the Wukong, but also reminding you guys that it seems like it is Riddle with the red side, which allows Jaxplank to take that counter pick to the top. Maybe that's what we're gonna get, because you already got the Zeri, you already got the Diana. So what are we looking at?
I mean, for me, what is very interesting is the fact that they have locked the Diana in without having the Yasuo available to themselves. For me, Vladi is obviously a bit more of an assassin-oriented player who's a more carry. He has played a lot of Yone, which does still offer some utility in the team fights, but it would be interesting to see if he whips that out as the Gnar comes through. Very classic Kerberos pick. I know he's very strong on it.
Irelia is open, and Jaxplank plays the Irelia, so this is a big fear now.
We have seen the Irelia into the Gnar for Jaxplank, and it will definitely be a case of Kerberos weathering the storm, whilst the rest of Dusty protect him early, potentially on a wave bounce back and freezes. But I definitely do think... there it is. There's the Aphelios. I wanted to say that Denvoxnay has been liking this as a scaling pick into that Zeri.
It was tweaked, and it seems like he can come back. Jinx was heavily...
Yone.
Yone is on the table, so this could be a challenge not only to the mid, but also to the top. We've seen Yone versus the Gnar, so this is a flex so far.
Yeah, definitely. This looks like a flex, and I did not know that Jaxplank actually played the Yone. I do a bit of scouting right on the OPGGs. I didn't see the Yone. I thought this was more of like a chasey thing, but I'm really excited to see how well he pilots this top lane matchup, because it can be really hard for the Gnar if the Yone is good. But it's essentially all on Jaxplank.
And mid lane obviously not locked in for the side of Dusty, so Riddle will continue to try and trim out that pool, denying backlane his Akali, because obviously that Yone, as you say, can be put top lane, but if you really feel like there are no good mid lane matchups yet, you could still pull it back to the mid lane, and Vladi playing on one of his most comfortable champions then.
It's a way to deal with that all wombo combo that Dusty are building in so far. The bans are coming in. It is Akali on one side, because they believe that would be a way to deal with the Yone in the mid lane for backlane, and backlane without the Yasuo can rely on other assassins. He's a menace, probably one of the best mid laners so far in our league on Summer Split. Irelia on the other side, and LeBlanc. We've seen the LeBlanc show from backland. It is not a pretty sight if you're on the other side of the map. It is terrifying to play against. He goes for that Ludens, the Mejais. He's not afraid. Talking about Mejais and Ludens, Ahri is available. Do you see a world where backland can pull that in?
100%. So I wanted to say this. So another style that they've been playing recently is Kerberos on that weak side Gnar, whilst they play through mid 2v2 and bring that mid laner on the Ahri.
We got the Yone mid. Jax is going to be played on top. Oh boy.
But yeah, as I was saying, they like to bring that Ahri up to top side to help out Kerberos, or like basically have backland roaming all the way around the map. And ooh, that is not the pick I expected. A Zoe blind. Oh, it isn't blind, sorry, into the Yone.
Yeah.
Ahri, we were right. We were right.
That's a bummer. I really wanted to see the Zoe. I am a big Zoe enjoyer myself. She's just a fun champion, and I just love seeing her win, right? Regardless, though, the Ahri obviously the more sensible pick you just talked about. What would be good to help really allow Kerberos to be playing the game. Now I'm interested to see what will the last leg in here be and what will Stend be thrown on. He has known to experiment. He picked up the Zillion, for example, earlier in the split. Or will we see him go back to something more classic? He can't go to his classic either Renata Glass or Golden Always, because both those champions have been taken off the table.
I would love to see a Rel here. That would be interesting to make sure that everybody has to deal with the Gnar, with the Flamethrower, and even the Wukong. But it's going to be... oh, I missed his name. Oh, I'm so sorry. Rakan. Rakan is the last pick coming in from Dusty on the other side. Well, it could be the Nami.
This is the exact same way they've been drafting recently. Not for Kerberos. Roaming support, roaming mid lane. Bring up that support to facilitate the roaming mid. They've been doing this over and over and over again, and it hasn't lost. Now, interesting, the top lane matchup. I do feel like Gnar can actually bully out the Jax, but Jax does have some reliable setup for some ganks and does have that scaling factor.
Final words, we need to look into this matchup, Riddle versus Dusty. What is your take after looking into this champion select?
If we're talking predictions, I think as a whole, Dusty have gotten a very successful draft. I very much like the fact that they have given Den Voxner a huge carry role because we know he's able to play different things, but I personally prefer him on the hardcore AD carry style champions like the Aphelios, and I feel like if they're able to scale this out, even with Jaxplank being on the Jax that he's so known for, I think Den Voxner and the team fight-oriented play from the side of Dusty will be able to come through, and I believe Dusty will take it.
Dusty will take it in your eyes. What about yours?
Wow, I might actually have to go against them. I'm really surprised I have to do this, but I don't like Dusty's draft as much as Riddle's. I really like Riddle's. I think they have very clear win conditions, easy lanes to play through. Whereas Dusty's, like for example, Dusty's topside in the Na and the Wukong have a really hard time into the Jax. So I actually like Riddle's draft more. Post-draft, if I'm just looking objectively, both teams are the same. I like Riddle's draft, but I like Dusty's gameplay more, but I give it to Riddle.
But it's like a 60-40 now at the end of the day.
55-45. I think it's really close.
55-45.
It's a banger.
Okay, it's going to be a banger no matter what happens. As oh yeah, I was going to that one. Don't worry. The idea that Jaxplank is such a menace, he's getting all those kills. So I'd like to show you the kill board so far on the summer split to understand where these players are right now. There you go. Vincent is still at the top of the kills. And I was trying to find... There you go. On the solo kills, it is Jaxplank with 3 kills still away from Eminence. But it's really hard to deal with this one. And following, it is Kerberos with 10.
I think this is such a good storyline. We have both of these top laners right at the top, but I do think this is a natural symptom of both teams playing towards topside and getting their top laners fed. So naturally, they'd be more likely to kill the laner afterwards. But for sure, this is very interesting.
I'm very excited to see if Jaxplank can overtake Eminence on these last 3 game days. He needs 2 in one game and then 1 in the other games that he has left in the regular season. He will actually overtake Eminence because with Eminence being benched, I mean, Jaxplank could definitely end up taking that crown. And on the Jax, I think if he's able to catch Kerberos out, he could definitely punch him while he's in mid now.
Okay, now the big question for you guys is, you were talking about the Nan and the Wukong versus the Jax, and this is really complicated because he can build in still caps and it's worth for both of them. I just want to know, how is going to be the playstyle from the champion select for both teams?
So I definitely do think the scaling does favor Riddle, as always, and definitely Dusty has to play through early well. The problem I have is the tools Dusty have to play through early aren't as good as normal. I think definitely if we are to see Dusty win, what will happen is that the support will roam up mid, the mid laner, backland will have to roam around as well. I think they'll have to put in a lot of work. They'll have to stack Drakes, they'll have to fight Heralds early. Otherwise, Riddle will take it if both teams are even at 20 minutes.
What about you? What is your take?
Yeah, for me, I really like the fact that Dusty have been so good in the team fights. That gives me a lot of confidence coming into this game because they know when to pull the trigger, they know when to go for the fight. One of the reasons Riddle have had so much success is because teams, they were being stretched thin. They didn't really know what to commit to because Jaxplank was pushing on the top lane, but they were also going for the Elder Drake. What do they really commit to? And that's why I think at the start of the split, where teams haven't really gotten on that same page, it was easier to punish teams because their decision-making wasn't as clean. But I've been so impressed by how Dusty have committed to team fights and know when to pull the trigger. So I think they'll just read Riddle's bluff if they try to do something fancy split push or go for a fight. I think either Dusty just say, okay, we then fight you on the Elder Drake or whatever, then they take the Elder and then they go back and punish Jaxplank, or they are set up and ready for Jaxplank split push and then they punish him as soon as he steps up. So I think Dusty's decision making rather is going to be the huge thing that's going to decide this game for them.
Dusty have to play with the map. Riddle are playing for the top side, but both are looking for that second seed, if not the first, if the day goes smoothly for both of them. It is Dusty, it is Riddle, and it is Initialize in trouble casting this one. Take it away, boys.
Wait, it is? I thought we were just standing here. Wait, we're casting
boys.
this? Oh, damn, I'm not prepped. What am I going to do? No notes. That's a complete lie. I'm so excited to be here, and we have got a killer matchup to begin with. And the thing we really do have to start with is a big overview of the narrative, because both of these teams are fighting for top 2.
Have some good narrative.
I know, right?
I'll make it even better. They're not fighting necessarily for
No.
top 2. Seeing the trajectory of JDXL in spring,
Right.
where they actually crashed and burned towards
Yep.
the end of the split.
Torok
which
might have
is
found
what
that.
it is. And especially right now, subbing in a brand new rookie mid laner, it might be a little bit difficult. I feel like Riddle and Dusty, sitting only 1 win away from JDXL, still have their sights on that first place.
They really do. And before I rudely interrupted there, you're absolutely right. I mean, Torok did say, look, he's pulled a Doctor Strange. He's gone looking through those
Torok has done a lot of things.
32,768 scenarios to find the one where they don't fall out of playoffs in the bizarre curse situation they found themselves in spring. But to find out even more, we'll have to actually see how the game plays out. And that means heading to the Rift. And that wasn't so badly timed there, Sam. Well done, me.
That was really well done, man.
Thank you. And of course they are only one game away from XL as it stands. Of course, XL also have their games to play, but it does mean with some of these shifts, as you were saying, there is a world, there is an angle to maybe exploit the potential weakness here.
Yeah, and now, historically, this summer, if we've asked any team, and we, as analysts, we have really praised Riddle. We're like, we thought X7 might be on the top, but Riddle so far had been the team that came out of any analyst's mouth when it came to who's next from JDXL? Who's the second team? It's going to be Riddle. Riddle's playstyle got a little bit found out. I think Duckling talked about it on the desk as well. The fact that they do rely on Jaxplank to create that split push win condition. It is a huge factor that a lot of teams have figured out and tried to shut down. Some of them successfully, some of them unsuccessfully, right? But on the fact that Dusty is starting to come into the discussion lately, on the fact that their team fighting has been flawless, the skirmishes earlier on have been flawless. Buckland seems like he's had the biggest
been on a
blow-up
monster tear.
out of any player that we have on the NLC between spring and summer. I think it says a lot that maybe we have it a little bit twisted and there is not a clear top 1, top 2 or top 3.
Exactly that, a lot up in the air, and of course, as it stands, just so people are aware of the current standings, Riddle have the head-to-head from earlier in the split. So if they win this game, Dusty's job of making top 2 is made that much harder. Still doable, of course, but it is very difficult. So Riddle would really love this win.
No, okay, so I'm getting flashback to spring where we had JDXL, Bifrost and X7 all having a 2-0 head-to-head over one another. So right now, if Riddle get the 2-0 over Dusty, JDXL have the 2-0 over Riddle.
It's happening again. It's happening again. Like, okay, not to curse prematurely. We know Caster Curse are potent things indeed. But there is some well with that. And I also just want to shout, of course, you know, like, when you were talking about Riddle, when we said they were looking like the second best team in the league, it was off Jaxplank being on those split push options, and I think Riddle have managed to draft themselves to that win condition better than we've seen over the last few weeks, where in draft it's been a bit harder for them. Hell, that's the Jax in top lane.
Absolutely, it's one of his signature champions as well.
Literally in his
Jax manages to get one of the two, and of course, every time Riddle plays for their win condition, they usually rely on playing with a lot of scaling and engage on the other side of the map. Now this time, it still reigns true as Linkas is going for that level 3. He does have the red buff.
Stefan knows with the ward, he's got the red buff, so Stefan decides, I do not want to fight this yet. Of course, the additional camp to Stefan, but they're going to try and make this one happen. No idea who took it right now. Looks like it was secured by Linkas. Vladdy comes over, Spirit cleaves, but Stefan is down his camp. Linkas continues to chase out the Diana as Kerberos goes past the tower to assist on the Krug steal as well. Dusty very much putting Stefan under the cosh in this early game.
Oh, okay, so Stefan managed to actually smite this one away, and right now Jaxplank is going to join as well. But this is a 3 versus 2. Buckland is just around the corner, can join whenever he wants, and I think that was the catalyst for the invade right there. Linkas knows that he has the stronger mid laner early on. Vladdy was pushed underneath his tower, and the fact that Linkas managed to steal away the red buff sort of unlocks Buckland in the jungle as well. I honestly thought that Buckland was going to try for a cheeky enter in the boost, getting that taunt, get a little bit more.
Wait, bot side, Nash has been ignited, it goes down! Never mind, jungle clears, we've got some hot 2v2 action, and Demboxing comes out on top.
I was about to say, usually Riddle picks scaling towards the 4 members on the bottom side of the map, except Jaxplank, because Jaxplank's gonna be, sure, scaling, but like this split push function on the side lane. But usually Riddle have some sort of tank to engage or disengage. This time, they chose to pair up the Zeri with a Nami, and even though, don't get me wrong, shielding and healing and speed-ups are all good and dandy for anyone like Zeri, it feels like if you get choked out of an objective by Dusty, who in the world face checks from Riddle to figure out what's going on in Fog of War? So it's going to be extremely difficult as Mage into melee in the mid lane, Vladdy is supposed to play underneath his tower. You see that then Voxner with the right guns can outpush Kevo onto this Zeri. And then we also have Stend, who's going to be moving around the map and roaming all the time. And Nash, very squishy already punished once on the 2 versus 2 in the bot lane.
Linkas now looking to try and continue his early priority in actions, looking to punish in. Flash grand entrance means that Nash is about to get rooted. That comes in with an Nimbus strike and a bop on the head means that is a very dead fish sushi for dinner this evening as Kevo falls. A double to Den Voxney, 3-0 at 5 minutes into the game.
That's such good timing for Linkas yet again. Sees an entire wave and a half shoving in. Kevo and Nash know they need to crush this here. Their jungler is on the other side of the map though, and Linkas gets the timing right once again. 2 out of 3 kill participation in the bot lane. 3-on-3. Look at that, there's a huge wave. Riddle are trying to crush this, but I think they overextend massively. This wave would have crushed no matter what, but they need to make sure it actually gets underneath the tower, which means that Linkas being there in time to punish that. They get 2 more kills onto the board. Until I bring you the bad news.
Go for it.
All right, Aphelios is meant to be a really big menace when he has like 2 to 3 items maybe.
Sure.
This guy's already 3-0 minute 5.
Lordy Lord. You know, who needs a heal when you can run the exhaust and you be this aggressive? Stend having a hell of a split as well, honestly. He was on the Nautilus early on Monday. Hell, Den Voxney was on the Aphelios on Monday and looked fantastic. Of course, that was more of a mid-jungle show with the fantastic Diana-Yasuo combo from Linkas and Backland. Linkas feeling very angry, of course, as Diana was stolen away. He's on the Wukong this time and punishing Stefan for stealing away that Diana.
Linkas doesn't care if Diana is stolen away because Yasuo was banned, you know? So they wouldn't have the cheeky combo right there with Yasuo and Diana between him and Backland. And talking about him and Backland, Linkas and Backland have been linking up a lot in the early game to win a lot of these skirmishes. If you think of Kerberos, historically Kerberos has been a top laner that wants to have the counter pick. He has his also wacky picks, pings them in the top lane, wants to win that lane. You can play through top. Dusty are playing through bot lane this time. This is a team with a triple threat lane, and this is why we have put them further up on our list of the top 3, because if you can play through any lane and pull out a W, this is very difficult to be outdrafted. This is very difficult to get you outplayed.
Hugely, hugely true. And honestly, I was about to bring up that point as well, so clearly on the same page here, because we were about to say Kerberos and Jaxplank. This is the lane we want to watch. You got the Jax for Jaxplank. Of course, that may well become more relevant.
Play for early game.
And it like, turns out that when you can make plays like that, engages like that, and punish the flashless Nami after some early good plays in the 2v2, and honestly, great use of the Graviton gun like that. It's one of those weapon management bits that Den Voxney has shown off pretty well over the last few times he's had with that champion, and they get the early kills, they get the early gold, and Dusty, despite maybe a bit of a draft deficit, perhaps, depending on who you're talking to on the desk, getting ahead with their play regardless.
And I think Linkas is very close to his level 6. If he heads towards potentially his golems, he might be going for that. He's going to go for his blue buff. The thing is that if you look at Nash, he doesn't have his flash available, but he has Stefan down the bot lane.
Oh, time to try and punish him, but there's an exhaust that Den Voxney ran early, but there's just no support. Shut down to Kevo, and a much-needed turnaround in gold for Riddle's bot lane.
That was a really good gank, because look at the time. It's almost 8 minutes. Ding, ding, ding. Rift Herald is coming up, which means what? The first support to roam first towards Rift Herald gets control over the river. You get to put down your vision. Therefore, you're the first one to walk into Herald and take it down. Stefan, of course, knows that he has the weaker top side right now, since there's Meganar on the top, lane has already been shoved, Buckland has been shoving Vladdy underneath his tower, so he knows there is no chance going for these Rift Herald fights. What does he do instead? He knows that Den Voxney is going to be alone for the time being, time to shove in the wave without Stend. She was roaming already for that Rift Herald fight and manages to capitalize. That is a huge shutdown for Kevo's Zeri.
Over the wall again, Linkas just continue to be as obnoxious on these red buff invades as he can. Does not quite get into the pit in time. Jaxplank and Nash and Vladdy all around though, and that means that this Wukong could be in a spot of bother. Cyclone popped out, flash away from Linkas. Good charm to disengage, but over the wall goes Vladdy looking for the Fate Seal, hasn't quite found it, and comes back into the Soul Unbound. Flash popped by Linkas, but nothing else.
If anything, I think this is a winning scenario for Den Voxney down the bottom.
Yeah.
We talked about how Aphelios can very easily push down a Zeri, especially if you have Infernum and you get all that AoE damage down. Plus the fact that he did take those skills. He almost has either his Kraken Slayer or Gale Force, whatever he chooses to go for. He's Mythic anyway, so he's just sitting down bot lane, knowing he's on a very safe 1 versus 1, just taking free turret platings while his jungler is doing his own shenanigans using his flash.
Yeah, and that was part of the trade that Riddle made earlier as well, right? Because they moved away from the Herald, and they didn't get any plates down there with that play, which is often a trade for Herald. They got the shutdown, and that's great news, but Den Voxney gets to respawn. He doesn't need to go to the Herald fight. He gets to play. and they might do some work down there. Stefan securing that scuttle crab there, and is around the bot side, so maybe he might look in here, but I just don't think there's much of an angle right now, so we're just looking to see where that Herald gets dropped, I suppose.
Yeah. Then Voxner has his flash backup available, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to catch him when Stefan doesn't have a flash himself, and all he has is a dash and an ult. So if we're looking on the map right now, we're technically looking for a play towards the bot side of the map. Get that Aphelios towards his mythic really quickly, swap him onto the map, start taking more towers, start taking more turret platings. You will see Linkas, he's level 7, he's gonna be heading towards the bot side of the map. Stefan as well, it's a 4-man bot for the side of Dusty. They really wanna pop this Rift Herald, get their Aphelios ahead, start using him as a minigun.
Absolutely can do, as there's the recall from Stefan, who was warding things around. Stend might go in and find a hold of this control wall. They'll use their pressure to get in here. Will spot out Stefan on the recall, and that might embolden them now to continue this shove, knowing the jungler is off the map for the moment.
And honestly, if you look at the bot side vision, it has been absolutely stellar from Dusty. Even the gank that actually popped onto the Voxne, Stefan was actually spotted in vision. A little bit too late, but he was still spotted in vision. And if you look at all of that vision towards the bot side of the map, you have an Aphelios that's extremely fed. You're even in CS. You definitely want to keep him as safe as possible. Linkas is sitting towards the bot side of the map, will have his ultimate up and available in just a couple of seconds. And there's also a dragon coming up. Buckland and Vladdy will exchange ultimates just before the dragon is about to spawn. 30 seconds. That ultimate is much more important for Ari, though, than it is for Yone.
Also, Buckland doesn't have the TP. He's gone for the Ignite, so not easy for him to go back to base, get that HP and come back for the reset. See what they can do. Is topside has been a bit of an island. Jax Plank getting traded back onto a little bit there, but otherwise that's been not too much to write home about, but now I'm talking about it. Jax Plank in a lot of danger. He's got the flash, throws out the counter-strike. Won't stack it up too much. And Kerberos flashing forwards, forced to flash in trade. Both top laners now down that critical summoner.
Oh, but if you look at the level advantage, it is in for Kerberos. Kerberos level 9 versus Jaxpunk level 8. Manages to get the trade, that extra HP, the extra defenses really do count when all you're playing with is auto attacks that early on into the game. And the fact that Kerberos is still on the map, pushing down that top lane means that Jaxman cannot potentially TP into a tower down the bot lane to actually try and secure that second dragon. It is going to be Dusty taking the 2, and I wonder which...
There's a grand entrance over the wall into the quickness, going to continue diving in. Stefan uses the Lunar Rush onto the Gromp. Will back out for now. The Tidal Wave comes down alongside the teleport from Vladdy, but the Herald is summoned with the wave crashed in. So they're looking to try and claim some place, but I don't know how easy this will be to do in the 4v4 stand. Over the wall, though, the Ultra Shock Laser doing a lot of work. Den Voxne with Infernum and Severum switches out to the Crescendum now. Stefan on the top side gets the Moonfall on to Stend. Over they go. Will not quite secure until now. The Lunar Rush Part 2 comes through. Vladdy is trying to stay alive, but the Cyclone Part 2 doing as well much work as it can. Nearly a 1-for-1, not quite yet, though. So many chakras, and yet nobody dies from Riddle. They are the one that come out with the kill advantage. Backland has to flash away from the sped up Zeri. Now under tower should be safe.
And I'm one of the first people who will commend Dusty on the skirmishing and team fighting, but that was extremely chaotic. It was way too split, and if Aphelios doesn't have a bunch of people to hit at the same time, so the Moonlight Vigil gets a bunch of value that early into the game, you're not gonna get much in return. Kevo on the Zeri, he's much more flexible around the walls, been able to jump back and forth. And mind you, this was a fight where Stefan didn't have his own ultimate, Nash had used his. So technically, if you look at Dusty, having Wukong ultimate and Aphelios ultimate, you should have technically won that fight. But again, the fact that it was very split, your damage was split, the focus was split, Stend almost even dies there.
Yeah.
Well, actually ends up dying.
He does die. Like, he nearly gets out, but there was a second Lunar Rush, and that was before Stefan had completed the Sunfire Cape. You know, of course, is going towards this newer build on the Dino with the Sunfire into the Nashes, which has been going on about. And
Kinda nasty.
It's super obnoxious. It's right back to Season 6, if anybody remembers the days of Sunfire, Iceborne, and everything top.
I remember Sunfire Katarina top laner.
Oh, don't start.
Don't tell me it was boy.
They do secure first turret towards the bot side, though, even if it was a little messier than Dusty would have liked, and they're still very much in the gold lead. They've got 2 dragons to their name, but Stefan on this Diana does at least make some of those plays bot side work.
So if we can see a little bit the gold between the AD carries, both have their mythic items, but as you will see, there's 1,200 gold difference between the Voxney and Kevo, and accelerating the Aphelios ahead of the game right here is going to be extremely important for them. You swap them, you take them towards the top side of the map, start taking more and more towers. At this point, Jax cannot play versus 2, and as you will see, Stend and Voxney will walk towards the top side, they want blood.
Get down with the quickness, but he'll get knocked up instead. Throws out the counter-strike, hops away, still no flash. Stefan coming over though, Moonshot is available alongside a Calibra Moonlight Vigil. Not quite able to secure the kills, though, and Stefan will force the retreat from Dusty's bot lane.
Very importantly, that was 2 ultimates right there banned from the side of Dusty, and Jackson, all he has to do is ban his own ultimate and just walk out. As you will see, he's still towards the top side of the map. The fact that Nash is on the Nami means that this Jax has replenished a bunch of his HP, and they can actually stay around for the next Rift Herald that has just spawned. Ulti check alert, we don't have ultimate on Vladdy, and we don't have it on Jaxplank. Very crucially, no one on Backland, not one on the Voxen, and not one on Stend. Dusty are the disadvantage right here.
Do still have the Cyclone though, so maybe, just maybe, they'll look in. The clone gets knocked up by Vladdy, hopping forward with the Mortal Will. Not needed to do anything there, but Curb though takes the opportunity to shove this wave into the bot lane tier 2 and get some damage, but I don't think he'll have quite enough time to secure the whole turret, though this is an R, and maybe he does.
I mean, he's doing pretty well. I think he might actually
Hexgate
tower right here. Hexgate, oh my god, then Stefan just around the corner. There is TP for Kerbers if he wants to TP out, but then Voxney again.
Knocked up, no flash, no exhaust, no hope. Knocked down by Riddle, playing off vision. Nicely done.
That is so well done, honestly, from the Riddle side. The fact that they know exactly when Stend is not in lane. Stend has been taking very early backs to try and defend his team for the objectives to come. 1 minute Dragon, you see Stend has already moved down the bot lane. He's already set down the vision for Dusty. What does Dusty do? They take advantage on the fact that Voxney is all alone twice in lane right now, and they feed back kills into their Zeri. Mind you, yes, Aphelios scales really well into the late game, but so does Zeri.
Gotta call out as well, a little bit greedy there, shoving up by themselves into the kind of catch that the Nami can offer from that far up lane. Of course, no flash, no exhaust, no ultimate, I don't think either, so rightly punished there, and Riddle doing very well to recover from the early lane where, you know, that Aphelios was 3-0 not so long ago.
And so far, actually, there hasn't been much effect from Buckland's Ahri. I think Vladdy has been trading his ultimate to take Buckland's ultimate, which means that ultimately, the Ahri cannot walk. Thank you. The Ahri cannot walk into these fights if she doesn't have her dashes available, because she will get caught and killed really quickly.
He does now, though.
Backland on the flank.
And this would be so point. It's not a mountain dragon, it's a hex dragon. Ignore that symbol at the top left of your screen, but don't ignore! Link, as he skills it away, gets himself to soul point. Stefan now in a difficult position, getting knocked up. Vladdy as well, about to get bound in place by the binding Eclipse. 1-for-1 right now, make that a 2-for-1. But what can Kevin do is he has to spark surge over the wall. Jaxplank and Stefan now running away, running to the hills. A boulder toss is dodged by a leap strike. Now Stefan as well in a dangerous position, has got a pale cascade, but Curb hops forward, crunching down. Flash for the ultimate into the wall. Stend will get the knock up afterwards, and that will be a very dead Diana.
That was a pretty much, I've had enough with you running away from me. I'm just gonna blow my flash and kill you right there. It is a 3-for-1 for Dusty. It is then Voxney with another fantastic Moonlight Vigil. Takes another kill for himself. They manage to secure the Dragon 3 going towards Soul for themselves. And as you will see, Linkers goes into his shadow, gets inside the pit, smites on 300 HP, and then Buckland dives in, but look at that Moonlight Vigil hitting 3 members from the Voxney right there. Really, really well played by the Dusty marksman. And again, you give then Voxney this AD hyper carries towards the late game, he gets that fed, you know that his positioning is going to be stellar, his ultimates always hit, and he literally gives back to you when you have put all these resources into that champion that he's playing. 4 and 2 Bloodthirster already completed. Such an important item, because you're playing against 3 champions that want to dive you and kill you. You're playing against Jax, Yone, and Diana.
And there's no Gale Force, he's gone for the Kraken Slayer, so definitely a little more immobile.
We had words about this the other day.
Absolutely.
Like, that's a little greed if you don't have a Tom Kent.
Absolutely, but he's gone for it, and you can see, at least when he's not being a little too far open lane, definitely playing up the team fights very well. And also, call out some good side steps there to avoid Vladdy's Fate Sealed alongside his bot lane partner in Stend. So good stuff so far. They've got all 3 out of turrets. They're at soul point. They've got a lot of gold in their pockets as well. Dusty, definitely their game to lose right now.
I mean, it's 4,000 gold in difference right here, and it's all for Dusty. Riddle, they spent blood, sweat, and tears trying to get that Rift Herald, and that Rift Herald has been popped because it ran out of time.
Unfortunately.
Gonna head and march very slowly towards top lane. But if you look at the map, you've got Kerber slow pushing top side. You've got Dusty always shoving in that mid wave, and they're going for the next Alder turret, which most likely is going to be that bot lane Alder tower that's sitting on very, very low HP. At this point, this Aphelios has become a minigun. He does have his flash up and available for himself, so you can definitely use him as a weapon to shove in even more towers from the side of Riddle and just choke them without vision.
Does look like Jax Plank will get the opportunity to get that Herald charge in, but not secure the turret as yet. And all the while, Dusty, with this wave and Vladdy in a bit of an awkward position, likely to lose the tier 2. And they're going to try and go for it. Of course, Kerb is around. No teleport, of course, for someone like Backlunds. This would be a potential opportunity. Riddle flipping very early here, getting very out of place.
Well,
they're teleporting in as well.
Kerb versus Meganar.
Does hit Meganar, but they're going to line the Moonlight Vigil anyway. Gets across the wall, does not have the flash cause. Burn it to get a hold of the jungler early. Will far surely die. Does do so. Shut down going to Stefan's pockets.
He didn't have the Meganar. The second he actually transformed into Meganar, his ultimate was a few seconds off of popping off. But I think it's still fine for Kerberos. Yes, he gives a shutdown away, but he stops the Baron potential for Riddle. Now, what goes down with it? Bounties from objectives are up. Jax Plank is going to cash in on the first one top lane tower right now, which means that a lot of the gold is going to start swinging back into Riddle. And again, Riddle have a pretty good scaling team as well. Kerberos, you'll see, he will turn into Meganar, but his ultimate is currently not available. Still a little bit on cooldown. You see at the bottom left of your screen as well. Right now, it becomes available, and right now, Kerberos dies with it.
Unfortunate timing. Did, of course, have to go and try and contest that, but can't quite escape. A lot of ways to get in on top of the enemies, and of course, Stefan is the recipient of a lot of these shutdowns in the early game. Has now got himself towards the 2 items on Diana, and yes, there's an exhaust on Denvoxney, but if that's not up, that Moonfall is going to hit real hard, whether he's built full AP or not.
I mean, who cares if the exhaust goes down, right? Yone is going to jump in, Jax is going to jump in, Kevo on the Zeri is going to jump in and throw these W. So you get CC'd by one spell, you will get perma CC'd until you die. I think a lot here stands onto Linkas getting the correct knockup, onto Stend, getting that multi-man taunt. You'll see Kerber's actually TPing in.
Going for the Moonfall! Lands onto 2, but Stefan afterwards gets taken out. Back against it's just 2 dead already. Continuing to chase Kerberos, needing a Meganar. Kevo trying to ditch out of the danger, but cannot do so. Backland flashing forward, trying to get a hold of Nash as well. They'll get Jax Plank, but the bot saying does survive. But they're now going to lose that soul.
The new Teamfight Kings are here and are here to stay. It is no longer Bifrost NLC, it is now Dusty. We mentioned how important it was for Denvoxney to not get chain CC'd, and then Stefan finds a pretty brilliant ultimate, I'll say right there. You'll see that. Hello, everyone.
You'll see us is what you'll see.
You'll see us. So Linkas tried to get a really nice Diana ultimate right there, but sorry, Stefan. I had my mind linked with Linkas and Diana from the previous game that we watched. It was a pretty good performance, but again, I don't blame Stefan because he sees 80 carries walking on that choke point, going towards the Dragon River is very illegal, guys. You see an 80 carry there, you instantly engage. But Voxner was so quick on the trigger to flash through the wall. It was beautiful to watch.
Quick bit of information here for you as well about the pause. It does sound like Riddle's mid laner has DC'd, so Vladdy's just got to reconnect. That's basically the issue with the pause. Obviously quite important. You do want your Yone in the game, of course. I appreciate as well that fight. You take the opportunity where you have it right there, Riddle. They thought they had an angle, they're falling behind, this is the soul fight. You go for it, it doesn't work out. Unfortunately, that was the position they were left in, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having still a lot of scaling in your team can work to your favor. But the only thing I'm really worried about when it does come to Riddle is the fact that they're all super squishy and that Aphelios is already pretty much accelerated. Almost 3 items under the Vox's Aphelios. All he needs is 1 correct Moonlight Vigil. Saying that, yes, Hextech Soul is really important and it does do a lot by slowing your opponents and the little bit of extra damage that you get from the little lightning. But then Vox now does not have Flash up and available. The next, of course, objective on the map will be the Baron. So I'm assuming this is where both teams will have their sights set.
Of course, lost the permanent buff, and that is a big loss for Riddle, but maybe you're right. In that next fight, there might be an angle. Can they get on top of that hyper-fed Aphelios? Is the question we'll have to ask ourselves. Of course, on the other side, the other members, Kerberos, Backland, Linkas, all pretty scary themselves. They got a lot of mobility themselves as well, so it's all well and good if you kill the Aphelios, but if you waste everything trying to get him and then realize, oh my days, there's so much cleanup that's coming afterwards, could get risky. But unfortunately, those are the kind of decisions you've got to take. It's not an 80% chance of victory in these plays anymore. You've got to take the lower opportunity, lower percentage chances, because the game is in that state now.
You know what? And I'm going to move us a little bit away from that because it was Vladdy, right? Who had the seed. So Greek internet, GG, well played. I was talking a little bit to Jaxblank actually the other day, because when I bet... when I did bet the donuts on Riddle beating JDXL, I went into Jaxblank's DMs and I was like, please, man, I've bet donuts. Do your best. Do your best. I need this victory, okay? And he's like, yeah, I'll try my best. So we just started chatting a little bit, and he actually told me that he lives in a village in Greece.
Seriously?
And he actually has to travel 30 minutes by car to get to the nearest internet cafe so he can play his scrims and his officials from there. And if that's not freaking dedication, I don't know what is. Same sort of story happened with Comp as well back in the day when he was playing in the ERLs. So major respect to any player who really commits the time and effort for the cause, and of course for the dreams and goals.
Yeah, massively true. And like that's a huge journey to take in a lot of ways. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can still play from home and stuff, but you want to get into a place where you got your internet. It's not your own place.
Trust me.
Exactly.
When he told me he leaves, he can't play from home.
Exactly. But it also means things like practice, right? Like one of the things that is often expected of pro players, right, is that extended practice time. And yes, there are issues. Yes, there are discussions around how much should you play? How do you practice efficiently in League of Legends? Because unlike a lot of other sports, it's not so easy to go, you know what I'm going to do? Stand and practice taking penalty kicks or whatever.
It's also about comfort, right?
Yeah, of course.
You can play from the comfort of your house, just getting up, having a snack, even having a drink, making sure that you're in the comfort of your own surroundings that you know very well and you're comfortable in is very important.
Speaking of comfort, though, we've got the comfortable choice to go back into game and get us out of this slightly uncomfortable pause, of course. Isn't that a relief? League of Legends gameplay, not discussions about, the necessity of practice and how one does it. Great metaphysical and, not metaphysical, there's a common philosophical. There we go.
And as we mentioned, what is the next objective on the map? It is going to be Baron.
Bloodshed.
All eyes on Stefan. He has a way into the pit when the vision is down, but he's going to be too late.
Not there in time, and that means it's a swift Baron. No opportunity to punish that flashless Aphelios we mentioned as a potential angle in, and Riddle fall further and further behind in this game.
And if you look on the side lanes, level 15 for Kerberos, level 13 for Jaxblank. Riddle's win condition is through the side lane, is through Jaxblank getting ahead, being able to snowball, being able to be a threat on a side lane, making sure that he creates pressure off tower taking and maybe Nexus taking later on. This time Kerberos sitting very comfortably 2 levels up his opponent. He can actually take one Baron buff, go to the side lane, be an absolute nuisance, and then you create pressure on another lane with a 4-man core unit like Dusty are doing right now. They did though give up on this middle wave because they do not necessarily have the correct vision on the bottom of the map, and getting flanked by 5 members could be disaster when you have Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. Backland, though, is now in the mid lane to try and correct that option as Kerb goes towards the top side, and the rest of Dusty sort of are roaming Riddle's red side jungle. They look like they'll collapse on that tier 2 in mid lane, already at half HP, and with the Baron buff and Severum Crescendum, plus that Q button to use an onslaught, it disappears.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reply here is from Riddle. Stefan does not have his flash available, so he cannot necessarily reach the backline that easily. Vladdy, together with Nash, could be the answer. A really nice tidal wave into a Vladdy long-range ultimate to try and reach the backline, or just catch Kerberos on mini now, which is what Riddle have decided to try and go for here. Trying to catch someone, reducing the numbers that Dusty have on the map could be a way to come back into this game, because if you look at the wave clear, you don't really have much. You've got 2 melees on both solo lanes, and a Zeri. It's really difficult to try and shove in these waves away.
And 2 items now complete after that last sequence of plays as well. Backland's got that death cap second. It's not quite the Ludens that I'm sure Nightmare would have been raging for, but he's gone for a bit of a higher damage burst build as well as the soul AP threat.
Some damage in
exactly,
there,
he didn't.
Go for the Putrefier.
Oh, never talk about that build again. Doesn't work on Ari. Anyway, of course, Linkas as well has got the Guardian Angel second here as well. He knows what his role is, which is go very deep as hard as you can, and of course you can see where that disconnect happened. And as Trouble helpfully points out on my screen as well, that Infinity Edge now complete for Den Volksny first to get that 3rd item in. A terror on this Rift right now.
That Aphelios is well and truly online. Dusty still have the Baron up and available. Kerberos has not left top lane whatsoever. He keeps building these waves. He keeps pushing. Now then Voxner with this reset, with the Infinity Edge, they can take him around the map and be a complete terror. Even if they want to wait in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, then Voxner's flash will still be up and available. I think this is what Dusty is really afraid of right now. The fact that Stefan's flash will be coming up before then Voxner's flash will. The fact that Vladdy has his flash available together with Jaxplank, it's really difficult to put your fellows into a situation where if he gets engaged, you might actually lose Elder Dragon.
Oh, yes. And the problem is the map control is just not there, as you're saying. Like, the whole map is littered with blue wards. The waves are shoved in. You're down this soul. Jaxplank's trying to find an angle and might actually have one onto Kerberos here. Actually has a lot of damage going straight through with that second item complete. They're going to try and turn this around with a teleport. Flash over the wall, but Jaxplank's flashing afterwards. Linkas with the ultimate to buy space, and Kerb about to get alive. Will go down there as Stefan gets it, and that is a huge shutdown. Nothing really on the map to claim yet. Vladdy stepping forward, trying to see whether there's an angle to get onto Linkas, but they just can't quite connect. Pick and nothing else.
You know what Jaxplank said there? I was hiding.
Not a Twitch. It's like I was expecting something significantly more relevant to Jax. Not, yo, lol, I'm playing Twitch.
Wait, you expect an analysis for... Come on.
I hate to do this to you, Georgia, but your title is strictly Colorcaster. It's supposed to be a little more analytic.
Man, fine, I'll snap back into position again. I think you mentioned how Kerberos had not left side lane. The fact that he's always 2 levels up his counterpart is a big problem because Jaxplank cannot push him out of lane on his own. But if Kerberos is going to face check Jaxplank and Jaxplank is the first one to engage, then yes, it is very feasible for that Jax to take you down. 2 items completed right now. Blade of the Ruin Kick and Sandra. This Jax is well and truly online. We're looking at level 16 for his next point, his next to last point in the ultimate as well, which is something that Kerberos already has. Talking about level 16,
do tell me.
In our ultimate though. Elder is coming up in
it is.
seconds. And at this point, it's anyone's game. Because if you look at the inventories, 2 items completed on the entirety of Riddle, 1 stopwatch in Kevo's inventory as well. Again, the only problem remains, full Riddle composition is very squishy. How do you face check to even try and enter River?
You've got 3 items on that Gnar. Teleport now pops to make sure he's with the team, having shoved the top side. You've got stopwatch on Ari, stopwatch on Aphelios. In time for this critical fight, it's made even harder for Riddle. Even if they've got a couple to play with themselves, they are down some significant items, particularly in that AD carry run, that could really bite them here as they're fighting for mid lane control. But then they've got to get into the river. Then they've got to win the fight. It's looking hard. Yeah,
and Kerberos needs to start charging his raids bar right here because we mentioned level 16, 3 points into that ultimate. It's going to be a huge Mega Knight if you can hit it onto multiple members and set up Buckland and then Voxner, the 2 heavy hitters for Dusty.
Oh no! Tried to get the pick onto the side, but it goes wide. Curve, not really there, as that is a huge Gravitum coming through for the Binding Eclipse afterwards! And it is lights out already for Stefan. Nash about to fall over the wall. Into the rest of the fight goes Den Voxney. A double for him as Vladdy goes over the wall, but has to snap right back to reality and his body. Game is set and done.
And then Voxner full pedal to the metal, baby. He says, you're not gonna engage for me. I'll provide you with the engage. I'll provide you with the damage. I'll provide you with the disengage. I'll do everything for my team since they set me up for success. I'm gonna give them the victory.
They'll even up the head-to-head with Riddle. They'll move to tie up with JDXL's win score. They'll look to hunt for top 2. They'll look to hunt for the first place in the regular season, and Dusty continue their march towards the top of the table.
And I think this is the time where we need to insert Dusty into the conversation. We kept asking on Monday here, which team, to all of the players that we have for interviews, would you like to see in the finals? Of course, I'm on with them and their teams, right? And everyone said, well, we all want to beat JDXL. We think JDXL is the strongest team. I'm going to make an argument right here because Dusty look freaking clean. The fact that they can carry through Kerberos, carry through mid-jungle, carry through bot. Then Vox engaged on 5 members with the failures. This is brilliant stuff coming from Dusty's roster. And now that they're tying up on JDXL are playing Singularity later. This is a little bit of a knot in JDXL's throat because they're like, oh, if we lose this is rough.
The last time we saw a run from Dusty, they charged all the way to 3rd place through the playoff run, and it's looking like it's coming online in time for playoffs again. How far can this team go is the question I will leave the analyst desk with.
You think I know? I can't even read a foldy sheet. How would I know how far they can climb? I keep talking about mountains, but I don't know now. Dusty coming in, tying up with 1st place JDXL. This is the moment we've been talking about for the past 2 days, I would guess, with you, Eragon. The idea that we didn't see them until it was too late.
I'll be honest. First of all, I just want to apologize to. I want to apologize to the Dusty Twitch channel. It's obviously in the chat. I really apologize for voting against you. I will never do it again. No,
Dusty fans, he doubted you.
I am
sorry.
He
doubted you. I'm just saying.
For real, I think this game, this showcased so many things, right? I think this showcased just how proficient Dusty is at playing the early, squeezing out every bit of lead out of the draft. I think it showcased individual prowess as well. Yes, Nah is really turbo broken right now at stonewalling and creating leads on his own, because of just the strength of a champion. But also you have the bot lane getting 2v2 kills, which I didn't account for, right? I thought Riddle might be able to stonewall and stall because of kind of a lack of setup on Dusty's part, but they managed to get individual leads on their own and generate enough leads to be strong enough at that 3rd and 4th dragon. To the point where, and then also execute on these team fights, to the point where it didn't matter how, how far behind maybe that Riddle were, it was just unbeatable.
This was a team fight where Riddle thought they could take Dusty right now. And there you go. It's that team fight prowess of Dusty yet again showcasing, no, Duckling?
It seems like it just keeps coming the way of Dusty, right? They steal the Drake, they end up getting most kills in this fight. And for me, also in the game, they managed to get 3 kills on Den Voxne. And when you get that on such a good AD carry, he's here to reclaim his title, of course, after leaving for the LVP in spring 2022. And he's come back and he just showed up this game. The team played around him after they got him ahead. And he proved why he was the best AD carry in the league when he won it. And he proved that Dusty is definitely a top 2 worthy team at the moment.
If not top 1 at this moment. It seems like there's not a lot of cracks on their defense. It's really complicated to deal with this team. The X-Tech Dragon was kind of a cherry on the top of the cake because they were forced to fight for those dragons. If it was a Cloud Drake, you were talking to me like, why can't it be a Cloud Drake to make things fair? Nah, it's one of those where you're forced. So on the days we're playing right now, before the buff that the dragons are going to receive, blessed top lane. This is going to be really complicated when you allow the enemy team to take those early dragons and you feel like, okay, it's Infernal, it's X-Tech, we need to fight this one, and Riddle will not prepared.
Yeah, so the thing is, when it comes to 3rd and 4th dragon, those are the key ones, right? You decide, are you strong enough versus this early game composition? Have you hit your spikes as the scaling composition to take the fight to them at 3rd and 4th dragon? Clearly, Riddle thought they were strong enough at that 3rd dragon to take the fight to them, and they just lost, right? So this is what we keep seeing from Riddle, and this is the 4th dragon you're seeing right now. This one they're kind of forced to contest because otherwise it's a Hextech Soul, but they keep trying to fight these dragons, and by then they're just too far behind. We keep seeing this with Riddle, drafting full scaling, getting too far behind, and never coming online with the spikes.
Yeah, and I want to highlight as well the good turnaround, because it looked like for moments Stefan got the big Moonfall, but very quickly then Voxne managed to flash out to safety, burst them all with the Moonfall Infernum combo, and then they, translate that into the Drake, and you mentioned it, right? Had it been a Cloud Soul, it would have been a different game maybe because it wouldn't have mattered as much. But with that Hextech Soul, it is simply too hard to run from them. You get slow, they deal a bit of extra damage as well. And when they already do a lot of damage, it was just a very tough game. I think Dusty, they played it very well. Their team fights were incredibly clean.
If we keep highlighting players, I would like to highlight 2 of them, which is Linkers and Stend on different champions, separating the enemy team. And that's why we're going to talk with Stend, that played that monster Rakan. And now you're tied up in 1st place. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel insanely happy, and we will play GDXL next week, so the next match will decide if we finish first.
Okay, before we
really
go
excited.
into that one, okay, Stend. The way you guys are playing on team fights, and let's be honest, okay? I'll keep it clean. It was not legal, the amount of lead you got on the early game on the bot lane. It is a scaling champion. You're more of a facilitator with Rakan. It is not legal. What is happening on scrims, and why are you so good right now?
I don't know. We are playing so well as a team. Like, we have good players individually, but we synergize so well as a team. We are really flexible, and we are working hard. Like, we have a good mood. Everyone is trying to step up, so we have a good atmosphere. And I don't know, the works pay, and I'm really happy how we are playing as a team right now.
Okay, I need to ask this because we often get this from X7 where they post communications on team fights and all that. We don't get that from Dusty, so we don't know how clean you guys are in terms of communication in the middle of a team fight. I want you to tell me usually how it goes, because that team fight where Diana goes in, gets the perfect engage, we're like, oh, this could be bad. And you and Wukong separate the enemy team in a flawless way. How was the communication?
First thing I'm gonna say, I think it's working on it to post a voice com from Dusty, so maybe you will see it. And the second thing, we were like calling because now was coming, so it was for a moment like a 4v5. So we were like, okay, play slow, play slow. We knew that they wanted to engage on us, so we were like kind of giving, letting a distance between them and us. And then Voxnet did an insane flash, I think, on their engage, and yeah, we managed to win on this. But about the communication, our team, we are talking too much sometimes. Like 4 players are perma talking, so I think it's kind of a good thing because we can attribute each player a role in the com. Because I think it's better than like no one talking, like we have no plan. And we always have a plan. Like it can be top plan, bot plan, jungle mid. Like we can play everywhere. So yeah, I'm really happy.
Okay, final question for you, because this is an interesting one. You were leading me to that one. You have to fight versus JDXL. That could be the deciding game for the regular split.
Yes.
Looking at JDXL right now, after knowing that MNS is no longer on the roster and they're going to play with someone that is still trying to get used to that team, what do you believe is your chances of looking into Summer Split and saying, well, this is mine?
I think for sure it's a downgrade for us. I mean, I don't know what is going in inside of the team, but MNS was for sure one of the best players in the NLC, like as an individual player. And for our win condition, I think it will help us more. Even though I think even with MNS, we will have win this game for sure. We are playing so well
happens,
recently.
You guys are going to take the Summer Split.
Yes.
Any team you're not afraid, but kind of worried to play against on the best of 5?
On best of 5, I think it will be X7, I would say, because they are not performing that well during the split. Like sometimes they are winning some. Recently they are winning hard, but they are not like in the top of the leaderboard. But I think in best of 5, they can be dangerous, I would say.
Okay, let's see what happens on the next week. Keep shining, man. You guys are just... EU Masters is looking at you right now. I'm just saying. So best of luck, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, communication is good. Atmosphere is good. Shot calling is good, and they can separate. One guy can take team fights. The other one can make the calls for the objectives. This is the perfect team synergy, no?
Yeah, so I think it's really obvious as well. I think it was really evident how initially they had that plan of they had double priority topside. Linkers invades topside camp, so that's facilitated perfectly well. Then all of a sudden, bot lane gets a kill and a flash popped. Now Linkers is pathing bot side, and that's facilitated perfectly well. They get a kill bot side. They're all working as a unit really perfectly.
Yeah, it's a team that works together, right? And they are on the same page. We can see it. Their gameplay, if you compare it to the start of the split Dusty that we saw to the Dusty that we see now, there is a whole world of difference. At the start, it was more like the 5 good individuals. Things didn't really click, but we knew this roster had the potential. But now they're on the same page. They're working together. And if I want to add something, I think it's talking about Dinboxing, because I've seen how this guy works behind in the team. And when times are tough, which I kind of thought it was for Dusty when they went this up and down at the games they won, didn't really look that convincing. He's the one to boost them around. He's the one to say, guys, look, our opponents are actually very bad. Like, he did that when we were down 2 against Fnatic Rise. He said, guys, they're actually kind of bad. I think we can win this. And then, you know, Trick ended up winning 3-2 in the final thanks to Dinbox's motivational speech talking about how everyone is so bad and how they just need to not be as bad. And he made the change back then. And I think hopefully he has done that here today, because the team just looks very, very good, and I could see them go far.
When I listen to you talking about the past from Denmark and all that, I listened to an old man saying, back in the day, we were amazing.
It was only 1 year ago. It was only 1 year ago.
They're doing it again. So
Yeah,
it seems
they are.
high hopes for you, man. High hopes for you. And it seems like a team is clicking on the other side. There's obviously some issues with Riddle. We need to talk with someone, and better to talk with the coach. It's Tom Kick yet again with us. Welcome back to the interview. We got to stop meeting like this, man. We got to stop meeting like this. Tom Kick.
Yeah.
What is happening? Because the Jax on the top side was really good versus the Wukong and versus the Nod. It seems like it was so good. You had the possibility to use the Counter-Strike to deal with the Aphelios as well. You brought that one. It seemed like it was perfect, but it wasn't.
Yeah, we had a really good plan overall. We anticipated a lot of the things they were going to do, and sadly just kind of faltered a bit in the early game.
Okay.
And from that point, we didn't really do a good enough job of keeping control around the objectives. So the third rake, where we actually wanted to contest, we kind of let go of the choke points, and they got on multiple flanks and sadly stole the Drake also. There's kind of a snowball effect, sadly, from the early game, and it made it really hard to play the game.
Question. Do you believe the teams are now looking into how to play against you, and it seems like Riddle is playing way too much on a single way, and that is going to bite you guys?
It could be. I feel like if we play on what level we actually are, I think it could look a lot different today. I don't think there is much of like the enemy doing super well against us. Like they of course are doing well, but like I think we were doing a lot of mistakes today. So I wouldn't be too worried about like not us being on the top level or things falling back. It's just we got to get back to our own form.
This could mean that not only you lose access to the top 2 seeds, depends on what happens with GDXL, obviously moving forward, but if you go into the bottom, I would say 3, from 3rd place to 6th place, is that any team you're worried about playing? For instance, if you have to face off versus X7 and teams like that, they're really good at adapting on the best of 5. How can your team adapt on the best of 5 if we get to see Jax playing splitting and the rest of the team playing 4v5? How can you deal with that as a coach?
I feel like we already have some things in store. Like we're thinking about playoffs. We know it's close, and we want to prepare that as well as possible. So we're still on the kind of standard stuff now with the group stage, and sadly it didn't work out today. But you know, it's not in our hands anymore, like getting the top 2. But like if we end up on 3rd place, I think maybe the scariest team is X7. They're looking a lot stronger. But I wouldn't be too afraid, since we still got some things in store.
Last question really fast is, if you end up on 3rd place, it means that you can choose who you're going to play against. Who would you choose?
We haven't decided on that yet.
Idea?
If as I said, like XM probably looking like the strongest. So probably either Bifrost or Astralis. I imagine those are the ones who are going to be also there in the playoffs.
Okay.
Bifrost were looking better against XL, but at the same time they didn't have Emnes in that game, so it's hard to really decide. So I think it comes down to see how they play in the next week, and hopefully we'll not have to choose at all.
Always polite, always careful. I love it. Thank you so much for this interview, Tom Kick. Best of luck. Let's see if you get the 3rd place and you can pick whoever you want. I'll see you soon. Have a nice one.
I'll see you. Thanks for having me.
I love it. He's always there with a smile on his face, regardless of what happens. But it seems like people got the number of Riddle and they can't adapt.
Yep. I think, you know, as he said in the interview as well, right? It's not the fact that only teams know how to play against Riddle, but it's also the fact that Riddle just haven't been playing as well to that win condition, because yes, it definitely is a difference maker that teams, you know, have read Riddle, they know what Riddle wants to do, but the fact that Riddle have made some uncharacteristic mistakes even this game as well definitely doesn't make it look as good as they could have, because I think if Riddle were able to play to the win condition this game, the game would have been a lot closer and Jaxplank would have come online as the side lane menace because he didn't actually get targeted that much. It was mainly the bot lane as soon as Stenboxing got those couple of kills where the focus were put from the side of Dusty. So to me, it felt kind of like Dusty playing a very good game and playing as an incredible team, but also Riddle making some uncharacteristic mistakes, and they've done that the past couple of games. So for me, Riddle, I think they can stick with their style for now. It's important for the best of five, of course, to be adaptable and be able to play different styles of League of Legends, but I think their carry Jaxplank and Scale can still work as long as they, get these uncharacteristic mistakes out of there.
Because the build-up is there. The composition was there. You believed in them.
Yeah, I did.
It's about execution now.
I need to see, specifically, what we're seeing globally right now is a surge of compositions that facilitate early game gameplay, stacking dragons, playing for that soul point and playing for those heralds. I need to see Riddle, especially for these best of fives, be able to draft early game. But for the past 6 drafts, it's all been triple scaling lanes. My Ezreals, my Azirs, my 0 priorities. I need to see them be able to do that. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to do well in playoffs.
This is the time to show weaknesses on teams that are going into playoffs. It's not because you are on the top 6 that means that you don't have a flaw in your defense. Let's look into the standings because this is going to be interesting. There you go, JDXL and Dusty tied up. We still have to see how JDXL are going to play today. Tell me.
For many, many weeks, it has been JDXL and Riddle in that top 2, and boy, does it feel good, honestly, to see some change in the league, because Riddle, I talked about, we know they're a very good team, but to see the competition finally coming through and pushing what we had at the start of the split as our 2 best teams feels very good, because I am happy when we have a competitive league where everyone can beat everyone in the end. And I think with Dusty now overtaking Riddle, who had a huge lead at the middle of the split, is very good to see for the whole competition of the split.
With the way things are going and how hot it is outside, it's good to have a breath of fresh air of Dusty jumping into the top of the standings. And now, another breath of fresh air as we jump into